Hey, YouTube, what's up? I can't do that. I'm way too old. Okay, this is the warm up, the YouTube warm up. This part won't be in the audio podcast. Trying to make it entertaining. Look what came in the mail the other day. A Trump-Pence pledge of support. Let me read the letter first, a little bit of it anyway. Dear fellow American patriot. Should I try my limbo voice? Greetings, fellow Americans. In 2016, we shocked the world by defeating the liberal Democrats and taking the first step toward restoring American greatness after 8 miserable years and the left-wing Obama administration. Actually, this is from Trump, isn't it? Whoa, 4 pages. Geez, Donald. It is from Trump. Can I do a Trump? I've been working on my Trump. I realized that it was like a Reagan, because I kept thinking I was getting into my Reagan. I don't do a very good Reagan, but there's some similarities. So this is sort of a Trump. Well, it's a Seth Meyers imitating Stephen Colbert, imitating Trump. I don't think I got a Trump down very well yet, or not. In the 2 years since we took the White House, I've been delivering. Oh, there we go. You got to get that snide stuff. I've been delivering on the promises I made to the American people. Unfortunately, the fake news media and delusional Democrats and the insider swamp aren't interested in talking about how much better our country is now doing. They would rather play partisan politics with our nation's future. Partisan politics. I believe that the fake news media, the delusional Democrats, the insider swamp is the definition of partisan politics. But I have faith that you've been keeping track of our record of success in the face of the fiercest oppositions since day one of any administration ever. I seem to remember something about Mitch McConnell and Republicans vowing that Obama would get nothing passed ever. All right, I'm not going to do 4 pages worth. Come on. I guess it takes 4 pages to spin people up. So then you read that, and now you reply this way. Dear President Trump, thank you for reaching out to me today. Unlike some unfortunately do, I don't buy the liberal media's lies about you. From plummeting unemployment to making America's economy the #1 in the world after only 2 years in office, you are truly making America great again. I'm not making anything up. It says all that right here. But I realize the fake news media, maybe this would be the Limbaugh responding. He sent this to Rush Limbaugh. But I realize my Limbaugh is a lot better than my Trump. But I realize the fake news media and Democrats will never be satisfied so long as you're in office. As we've just witnessed, they will never tell the truth about our country, about how well our country is doing. In fact, they actively worked to defeat our majorities in 2018 with the most expensive smear campaign in the history of the midterm elections, and will spend even more to defeat you in 2020. Yes, I will answer your personal invitation to join the Make America Great Again committee today. Please find enclosed my most generous contribution of $35, $50, $1,000, no, $100, $250, $500, $1,000, or other. You may contribute up to $41,100. You know what the antidote to that is? Kittens. I have been told that if you want to have success on YouTube and the internet, you need kittens. This is also my excuse for not having a show in a while. We are fostering these 4 kittens, bringing our house total of kittens up to 9, 5 of our own, and these 4 cutie pies. There they are crawling all over my lap. So they take an amazing amount of time and a lot of what I've been doing. I'd rather support kittens. Okay, let's do the show. We're going to talk about the successful. This is hard. It's hard to get the language right here. The failed veto override attempt, or the successful attempt to sustain the Governor Cooper's veto of the, I should have written this part down. The Abortion Survivors, the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act, House Bill 359. It was successfully voted on, passed by the House and Senate, vetoed by the governor. The veto override succeeded in the Senate, and it just failed in the House. No big surprise there. So that's the show. Good night, everybody. I'll do this. From the studio in the bonus room above the garage, on the north side of Cary, the foot of Mount Belzoni, this is the Triangle Talk Show. And Too Clever by Half, title for this program. It's episode 61. I've been calling episodes like this politics, but I think I'm going to just call this one Choice. June 7th, 2019. And now my clever title, Veto NOverride. Because it was a veto override, but it succeeded. So, Veto NOverride. I'm not even going to call that clickbait. Not going to do it. I produced a lot of video for this program. There's something else that was supposed to be in the title. It was supposed to be part 1. Because I'm going to do this in 2 parts. Produced a lot of video for this, another complex program. Haven't written a single word about what I want to say, which means I'm going to get a lot of it wrong. So what I'm going to do is, here in part 1, I'm going to talk a little bit about the veto override, which just happened on Wednesday, but it's taken me until Friday night to get the video all put together, plus playing with those cats that the video people saw, but the audio people didn't. We've got four extra kittens in the house where we are, for the audio folks and the podcast, we are fostering 4 kittens. If anybody wants some kittens, got 4 extra kittens. They will be available for adoption in about a month or so. I think that's the way that's going to work. Okay. So in part 1, I'm going to talk about it a little bit. Play some news clips, some interviews that I did at the legislature, right outside the Senate chambers, after the vote. And then in part 2, I'm going to play the whole House debate. I'll put that in air quotes, debate. They didn't really debate. They pontificated. Mostly Republicans, 1 Democrat, and then they took their vote. So the vote itself, I can't hold this to the end. This is not a surprise. Everybody saw this coming. So let me just get that out of the way.
The question for the House is the motion that Senate Bill 359 become law, notwithstanding the objections of the governor. All those in favor will vote aye. All opposed will vote no. The clerk will open the vote.
Sorry about the cats. Okay, so it takes about 10 seconds while they vote. And the tote board is up on the screen. They need 72 votes to override.
The clerk will lock the machine, record the vote.
And they only got 67. So
in the affirmative,
they lost by 5
in the
votes.
negative. The requisite 3/5 vote is not achieved. The veto is not overridden.
And at that point, the folks in the gallery wanted to applaud, but at some point during the debate, the anti-abortion forces heard something they liked, and they applauded, and they got shot down. Do not applaud. Do not. We maintain decorum here. In part 2 of the program, I think I said this, we'll do the whole debate. And because that's boring, I will do some commentary. Unscripted, impromptu. I don't know what I'm going to say, but I'll just try to make it entertaining. So that'll be part 2. So let's move on with part 1. We saw mostly cats on the video until I got Windows 10 working for me and actually was able to show you the video that I wanted. So some things went on before the debate took place. Let's see, what have I got here? There was a press conference. It was in a little press conference room that is off one of the courtyards in the legislature building. This press conference was hosted by the Republicans, and they had a few people speaking. You'll see a little bit of that when I play the news clips. You'll see the people that you'll see talking about this thing, and we'll see from the news clips. This is some of the pro-choice activists that are at a table getting ready, and now we are just outside the Senate chamber. Folks sort of segregated themselves and lined up on one side of the chamber are the pro-choice people. On the other side, the anti-choice, or what I will call the forced birth people. I'm going to see if I can make that a thing. They were mixed up a little bit. There were some pro-choice, there's some forced birth, anti-choice people sitting among the pro-choice people on this side. And some pro-choice people sitting among the anti-choice people on the other side. But the galleries were more or less segregated by what your preference was. And they were pretty full, but the anti-choice people took a little while to get there. This is the more or less empty Senate chamber. I'm zooming in on the TV cameras, because this particular activity was more heavily covered. Oh, come back. Yeah, lost the video. More heavily covered than the other versions of the event. I was down there for the Senate vote. I was down there for the House vote. They had people in the galleries. They had media coverage, but it wasn't like saturation. This got a lot of people, a lot more coverage. The reason I was sort of zooming in on the TV cameras is I was up in the gallery. That I don't have any press credentials, and I'm not qualified to get any. It's not by the rules of the legislature. It's by the rules of the press. Because there's so many of us wannabe press out here, bloggers and YouTubers and podcasters, folks that have absolutely no reason to be in any place where the real press goes, where geography is limited. The floor space on the House and Senate floors, there's not a lot of space down there. So they can't let anybody who wants to be a wannabe journalist in that territory. So I'm up in the gallery. Unfortunately, from the gallery, you can only see about half the floor. And the folks on the with their cameras down on the floor, well, they can see everything. Although they don't have as good a view of some things as I did from up on the gallery. So it's kind of a mix and match. When I do part 2 and I do the entire debate, because I couldn't see a lot of the people who were talking, WTVD very conveniently streamed it live on their Facebook feed, which I just stole, and I'll use some of their footage. I didn't ask them if I could. I don't have a good fair use argument about using it, except that they are in the public space down there where I couldn't be. They are sort of, I don't think they look at it this way, but they are sort of like pool coverage, and anybody can grab it. At least that's what I'm going to do. Pardon me just a second. I am allergic to the cats. The allergies kind of catch up with me now and then. With 4 new ones. Not too great. So we had this this press conference. Again, it was for the Republicans, for the anti-choice people, and there's a big gathering of people outside the room because not very many people can fit inside that little press conference room. So they had a great big gathering of people outside the room. Did you want to see the cats again? There they are. I need the cats. Keep me sane. Okay, so they did the debate and took the vote. We've seen the vote. We'll see the debate coming up. And afterwards, I talked to 3 people from organizations that were in the pro-choice camp, and they will introduce themselves as I get this video started from them. Assuming, tell me who you are.
Lindsay Robinson.
Oh no!
And you work
Once
for...
again, I'm stuck behind the cats. Yeah.
What do you do for them?
I'm the Director of Public Affairs.
Okay, we're
I'm Galia Paliga.
going to try this again. Here we go.
Tell me who you are.
Lindsay Robinson.
And you work for...
Planned Parenthood South Atlantic.
What do you do for them?
I'm the Director of Public Affairs.
I am Galia Paliga. I'm the president of NC National Organization for Women, or NC Now. I don't need to spell my name right.
I'm Dani Hoffpower. I am the field organizer for Planned Parenthood South Atlantic.
Yep, and we've got you sitting down because your back is bothering you.
Yes, I got a bulging disc.
What just happened?
Awesome. So we basically, the legislators voted to sustain Governor Cooper's veto. Absolutely, and that's of Senate Bill 359.
The Republicans kept saying this is not an abortion bill.
This is not about abortion.
Well, today I'm not debating an abortion bill either.
Because you and I know that this is not about abortion.
I mean, please don't make this the issue that it's not.
Many are being told this is about abortion rights, access. It is not that. It is not that.
I just want to remind you, this is not about abortions.
It is about abortion. Anything that restricts abortion access and restricts doctors being able to practice within their scope of practice is certainly a restriction in my book.
And abortion is in the title. It's an abortion bill.
How does it restrict abortion access?
It basically puts politicians in the doctor's office, right? And so doctors are not able to practice within their scope of practice and do what's best for the woman and her family.
Doctors may be afraid to do abortions because they may be jailed. At any point, they may be jailed.
And women might not understand that, they're going to get the care they need. They might be afraid to seek out care because they think they might also be fined or jailed the same way that these doctors are.
They make, on the surface, a compelling case, saying a baby's born alive, don't kill it. Why isn't that a compelling case?
Because it already exists. So why, and again, we've seen people say, why are we voting for this if it's already existing law? It's already existing law, so let's move on.
It seems to me that maybe the number one thing in the bill that would make everybody a little bit queasy is it requires anybody who works in a clinic to report. It makes stooges and snitches out of all of the staff. And they would say, something I always hate, well, if you haven't done anything wrong, you don't have anything to worry about.
Yes.
When has that ever worked out?
What if they make stuff up? I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
It's a terrible position to put people in.
So what is the real purpose of this legislation? What are they,
Two things. One is to fast track these types of bills that are unconstitutional in nature to the Supreme Court in hopes of overturning Roe v. Wade. The second is to criminalize doctors and stifle them from practicing within their scope of practice.
Any chip away at reproductive rights is a big deal. This will just embolden, if they would have gotten this veto override, this would have just emboldened them to continue forward with something even more dramatic. And this is just a different angle. This is just as dramatic, just a different angle for them to get to the place that they want to. They've set up their dominoes and they're waiting for them to topple the right way. So that was just, a piece of the puzzle.
And also, there are other anti-abortion bills that were filed this session. They haven't advanced yet. If this one would have advanced, you can bet the other ones would have advanced.
Yeah.
There's a 13-week abortion ban is one of them.
So how would this criminalize a doctor?
There's penalties associated with penalties, and there's also potential jail time, I think, associated with this bill.
If they do what?
If they perform...
If they fail to render aid to a fetus that is born alive.
Correct.
Does that ever really happen?
I'm sorry?
Does that happen?
There is no known cases that we have found out about, yeah.
They seem to think that they found some.
Correct. There's two sides to every story.
And the other thing is, we're concerned about children when they're born, and women and grown-ups, like with the Medicaid expansion stuff that's going on, that both the House and the Senate refuse to put in their budgets, and the governor really wants, and the people really need. Okay, if this veto wouldn't have held, then when I hope the governor vetoes the budget, right, they can expect that not to hold either.
This is a bellwether.
It really is. It really is. It's hugely significant.
How did we get to this win?
Through hard work, perseverance, strategy. Absolutely.
I'm thinking an election in last November
That's right.
is a big part of what got us to this win, which to the audience is what you all did. You voted for a whole lot more Democrats than we've had in the legislature before. Mm-hmm. Not enough to do whatever we want, but enough to sustain a veto.
Correct.
That seems to be like the big deal.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think, working to support women's health candidates who are pro-women's health is certainly a benefit when it comes to working with people on things that are true to our mission.
I'm not going to have this show on tonight. I'll know a few more things tomorrow, but are we going to be on Rachel Maddow tonight?
Hope so. I don't know.
I mean, it's going to have some reverberations nationally. It's one of the few wins we've seen.
Yeah, it's actually great. We had this one yesterday. One of our clinics, Planned Parenthood, actually opened up a new clinic in Charlotte.
Yes.
So this is just. These are some wins that were much needed for reproductive rights, and it's good to finally be winning after feeling like we've been let down by our legislators for so long.
There may be a few Republicans who watch this show. I kind of doubt it. They're not having a good time if there are. So the folks that we are talking to are going to be on our side of the line. What do they need to do next?
We're having an abortionist healthcare event on Tuesdays with Tillis this coming Tuesday.
Yeah. And keep talking about abortion. Yeah. Keep destigmatizing what abortion is, because what they're trying to do, what Republicans are trying to do, are trying to do is to stigmatize the language. They don't understand what abortion is. So we need to look at our own language, and we need to make sure that our rhetoric is correct, and we need to correct other people's, and we need to keep talking about abortion and fighting for the access, because everyone deserves access to health care, and abortion is health care.
Absolutely. And also hook in with already existing organizations that are fighting this fight, that know what's going on and can tell you what to do and when.
It's one of the things that, as I have become an ancient, antique, activist wannabe person, that I'm overwhelmed by. There are so many different organizations on the same side of the line, but promoting different things and doing different things. It's hard to decide. Make your pitch.
I mean, you've got ones now's been around for over 50 years and working for women's rights the whole time and making change. And we're not afraid to tell you what we think.
What do you want to
Planned
tell?
Parenthood.
I don't have to. I mean, I think if you're out there fighting for reproductive rights in general, I don't care who it's with. I'm just thankful for your service, and I'm thankful that you're willing to fight for reproductive rights. I'm not here to get you on my side. It does make my life easier if I have volunteers, but at the same time, I know all my colleagues and all my coalition partners, they're also fighting the same fight that I am and all of these volunteers are, and we all need help. So help one, help all, it doesn't matter. I'm just excited that people are wanting to get out and volunteer.
All right. Yes.
Hook up with someone who understands how stuff works here and the bills and when you need to be here. So a lot of organizations can do that.
The usual form for the Triangle Talk Show is an hour, 90 minutes. We push to 2 hours. I don't like shouting at somebody for a quick back and forth like this. So maybe you guys will come if you look at the show and like what we do. Come on and we can have a nice long discussion about all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Because I'm a friendly face.
Kelsey's here too.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
I think that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Yes. Thank you, Danny and Lindsay and Galia. And it's something I didn't know until fairly recently was that there is gang colors in this movement. And I showed up for one of those votes, the first one that I was at, I think it was probably the Senate vote, with a light blue shirt on. And all of the pro-choice people were on tiptoes around me because that is the color of some groups that are anti-choice. So the pro-choice colors are this purple, deep purple, and that is now, it looks like, in NARAL, the National Abortion Rights Action League. Is that it? If I got that right? And then pink for Planned Parenthood, although the pink that's sort of claimed by both sides. So you got to wear the right colors. So you got to wear the gang colors. Didn't make Rachel Maddow's show. Unfortunately, kind of wish it had. But, a lot of national news going on. She did do a show last night that was all about abortion, that was mostly focused on the events that are going on in Missouri, where they're trying to close down the last abortion clinic in the state with some kind of code violations and stuff. So she was focused mostly on that. And I thought maybe she would be able to squeak in our good news, but that didn't get in there. But we did make a lot of news, both local and national, and I've got a little capsule rundown of some of the news that got made here on TV and on the web and in some other media. So if I can make that play, let's take a look.
See what's happening this instant. ABC 11 Eyewitness News at 11 starts right now.
The Born Alive bill will not become law in North Carolina. An attempt to override Governor Cooper's veto of that bill failed in the State House this afternoon. The controversial bill directed doctors to give immediate care to any baby born alive after a botched abortion. Before today's vote, two women who say they survived an abortion spoke out, urging House lawmakers to support a veto override.
Because we were given medical care, we are standing before you today. But that is not the case for every single child across this country.
Governor Cooper issuing a statement after today's vote saying, in part, instead of passing unnecessary legislation for political purposes, we need to move on from divisive social issues and focus on the needs of North Carolina families, education, health care, and good-paying jobs.
Breaking news tonight, the governor's veto of the Born Alive bill will stand. It deals with what health care providers would have to do should a baby survive an abortion. CBS 17's Michael Hyland getting answers in Raleigh about why supporters will keep pushing for it.
People packed into the gallery here in the House this afternoon as they took that vote that included two women who shared their stories of surviving attempted abortions.
I don't die easy. Thank you, Jesus.
Gianna Jessen says she's a survivor. She told me about her mother's failed abortion attempt more than 40 years ago that left her with cerebral palsy, but still alive.
The thing that's troubling me is the fact that we're debating this at all. Should we take care of a baby that's screaming on a table or not?
She came to Raleigh Wednesday as lawmakers prepare to take up what's known as the Born Alive bill. It puts into law a requirement that healthcare providers care for babies who survive an abortion and to report to the state when that doesn't happen.
Because regardless of whether someone considers themselves pro-life or pro-choice, this is an issue we should all be behind.
Governor Roy Cooper vetoed it, calling it unnecessary, saying existing laws already protect newborn babies. Republicans attempted to override the veto Wednesday, but failed to get enough votes.
The requisite 3/5 vote is not achieved. The veto is not overridden.
Democrats raised concerns about interfering with doctors and patients.
The doctors that I've heard from all feel like it's inappropriate and bad legislation, so I've sort of deferred to them on that.
This vote happened as a few other states have passed laws restricting abortions.
North Carolina is not Alabama and some of those more conservative states. I don't think there is the support to go where Alabama and Georgia and Missouri have gone.
After the vote, Governor Roy Cooper reiterated that he believes this is an unnecessary bill, and he says it's time to move on from divisive social issues. Live in Raleigh, Michael Hyland, CBS 17 News.
Well, this bill has obviously been very controversial. Now, under this legislation, if a doctor performs an abortion and the baby survives, they must perform life-saving measures or else risk possible criminal charges. Now, this debate falls largely along party lines, with Republicans saying this bill is necessary to protect babies who survive a botched abortion. However, many Democrats believe laws are already in place protecting babies in these scenarios and say this bill is being used as a scare tactic. Governor Cooper has vetoed this bill, as we mentioned. Now, here are his thoughts on today's vote.
I think the veto will be sustained. We need to move on from these divisive social and political issues and talk about the real issues facing the people of North Carolina: education and health care, bringing good paying jobs, clean air and water.
Now, House Speaker Tim Moore is holding a press conference about the possible vote this afternoon. He is very much in favor of this legislation. We will bring you an update from that, as well as an update on what happens in the House chamber as we move throughout the day. For now, reporting from the General Assembly, Amy Elliott, Spectrum News.
So that was the TV news. This is the headline from the next day's News and Observer. NC House fails to override. And it made some national news. There's CNN's website. I don't know if CNN did a video story. They may have. A newspaper in Washington called The Hill also covered it. And Time Magazine on their website. Don't know if it'll be in the magazine itself. Boy, that's a sad, thin magazine now. But it was on their website. And Fox News. North Carolina lawmakers fail to override veto of the Born Alive abortion bill. I don't know why the Trump video is there at the top of the story, because it had nothing to do with the story, but it was there. And then they covered the rest of the story. And the New York Times. North Carolina legislature fails to overturn governor's veto of anti-abortion bill. And I like this line: in a rare defeat for anti-abortion activists in the South. And then the Associated Press, most of the other national stories, maybe all the other national stories, they're really based on this Associated Press story, because there was no Fox News or New York Times reporter there. But there was somebody from the Associated Press. They were there because I was standing right next to her, talked to her a little bit. So we made news, and that's the quick roundup that I put together. There's probably a lot more out there. I didn't see anything on WRAL. They may have had it, and they may have it on the website, but I didn't find it in my somewhat less than exhaustive search. Okay, one more thing to do here, I think. If I can make this work. It's in the wrong place, but... hang on. Working on making Windows work for me. This is a major fail. I'm trying to get my Adobe Acrobat on the right monitor, and it is absolutely fighting me. Oh, there we go. This is going to make it work. So I can't think and talk and do this manipulation at the same time. I wish I was that good, but I'm not. Sort of at the crux, the heart of this discussion is because the bill is designed to punish doctors who fail to provide care for a fetus that is the result of an abortion that ends up still alive. I mean, the claim is that then doctors are killing the fetus, killing what is now a baby. It's no longer a fetus. It's outside. It's been born one way or another. And the claim here is the doctors are killing those babies because they were intended to be dead anyway. And this bill is going to make that illegal, they say, and provide punishment for it, and also require staff, other people that are participating and witnessing at the abortion, to notify the authorities that happened. The counter argument is that doesn't happen. This kind of thing doesn't happen. So I've been saying that. Other people have been arguing it. You'll hear it when we do part 2, do the actual debate. But in the meantime, on Monday, I saw an interesting article in the News and Observer, and I pulled it up from their website here and added some notes to it. And I'm going to read a little bits and pieces of it. It's written by Paul Specht from the News and Observer. The date is May 30th. I think that was Monday. At least I saw it in the paper on Monday, in my PDF version of the paper. It's a fact check on this born alive stuff. The born alive scenario is the focus of the North Carolina abortion debate. How often does that happen? How often is a baby born alive and viable from the result of an abortion? And we heard on one of the news stories, and we'll hear the Republicans say this quite a bit, a, quote, botched abortion. That's one of the favorite things that they have to say about that. A botched abortion. It's not a botched abortion. It's an abortion where the result was not a child who was born alive. The result was a child born alive. That wasn't the intended goal. The abortion was successful in that they did what they were trying to do, other than that what was delivered turned out to be a live baby. We'll get into a little bit of this when we look at this article, but the thing about that is these are all very late-term abortions. If the child is going to be born alive, it's going to be after 24 weeks, and probably in most cases quite a bit after. And so women don't go for abortions at the 30-week point unless there's something really wrong, either with them or the child or both. And a medical intervention is necessary to do something. And if the decision is an abortion, then the medical intervention is because there's something really wrong with the fetus and then with the child, who may be alive when it is born, but it is not likely to stay alive for very long. And they brought in two women from one from Texas and the other one I'm not sure where, who have something of a born alive story. It's not quite, but something of a born alive story. That's what they were told. You'll hear a little bit more about that when we do the debate. All right, so let's look at this fact check thing from the News and Observer. What they say is that amid the debate on the bill, 2 key questions stand out. And the first one they say is, do infants born alive through the course of an abortion have legal protection? And that is, do they already have it? Do we not need this bill because this bill is allegedly protecting them, and the Republicans say they don't have protection. News and Observer's article says, yes, experts told PolitiFact that they do. So that's the first of two key questions, but then they are looking primarily at this second question. How often are babies born during a planned abortion, but then killed or neglected to death afterwards? So how often are live babies born in what was supposed to be an abortion, and then they are left to die or are deliberately killed? So there's a lot in this article, and I'll put a link to it on the Triangle Talk Show website, but I'll just read little bits of it. We found that there's some evidence suggesting that infants occasionally survive abortion attempts, but reports are rare. Not that what happens is rare, at least that's not what they're saying here. They're just saying the reports of that happening are rare. And there's even less hard evidence to suggest that when infants do survive those attempts, they are viable, but killed by medical professionals or allowed to die. It's hard to get accurate statistics because it's illegal. It's a live person. Illegal to kill them, no matter what. It's been illegal for a long time to kill someone who is alive. So people won't be happy to report things that are illegal. And that is from Mary Ziegler. She's an attorney and professor at Florida State University College of Law. She says the types of deaths targeted by the NC bill occur to the point of almost never. At the end of the day, we don't know. It would be wrong to say that 100% of it doesn't happen. We don't know. But for a variety of reasons, it's almost impossible to measure. And the lack of data is part of the reason why the North Carolina bill makes it a requirement, or would have made it a requirement, that medical professionals start reporting such cases. So when you say, yeah, we don't have data, no one's reporting this sort of thing, we don't know if it happens or not, so let's put it in the bill that it has to be reported. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why they put it in the bill. What this article doesn't say is that there's other reasons for putting it in the bill, and that is for disrupting the relationship of the staff and the doctor and chilling the idea of having an abortion at all because, whoa, now something could be easily misinterpreted, some fact could be misunderstood, something gets reported, and people could get in a lot of trouble, and that's another reason for having that in there. Maybe the main reason. There is a report on infants who were born alive during an abortion. It was published by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The CDC examined infant death certificates between 2003 and 2014, so 12 years. In that time, they identified 143 cases where an infant was born alive during an attempt to terminate a pregnancy. Notice they don't call it a botched abortion. They just say an infant was born alive in the attempt to terminate the pregnancy. Okay, so 143 cases in 12 years. To put that in perspective, there were more than 9.3 million abortion procedures performed in the United States during that same 12-year period. That's from PolitiFact, Texas. Okay, so 143 cases out of 9.3 million. So if it happens, it doesn't happen much. On conservative news sites and blogs, there are unsubstantiated stories about abortion providers who killed infants who were born alive. There are also stories about abortion clinic employees and what they've said about their operating procedures. When it comes to proven cases of infanticide, well, the numbers drop a lot. Philadelphia abortion provider Kermit Gosnell, is perhaps the most well-known example. Gosnell was sentenced to life in prison for killing infants, some of whom were born alive. And we talked about that in a previous episode of the Triangle Talk Show. I went into a little bit more detail. He did very gruesomely sever the spine of fetuses that were born and were still alive after he had attempted to abort them. He does a lot of other pretty evil things too. And without any of these bills, he was taken to court, convicted. He's now cooling his jets in, I think, a Pennsylvania prison. I'm not sure. He was in Pennsylvania. I don't know where they incarcerated him, but he is no longer performing any medical services. He's in jail. Overall, media outlets, the New York Times, the Associated Press, Vox, factcheck.org, have interviewed multiple experts who have reported that the situation outlined in the Born Alive bills are extremely rare. So the CDC, 143 cases out of over 9 million. Dr. Kristen Brandy, New Jersey OBGYN, and a board member of the Physicians for Reproductive Health, told Vox that if we did what these politicians are claiming we're doing, we're already breaking the law. No one is actually doing that. At least I should say no credible doctor or practitioner is doing anything, anywhere even close to what they're suggesting. So that article appeared in the News and Observer on Monday. Then the vote was on Wednesday. And once again, you're going to hear lots of claims that this is, well, even the Republicans are going to say they don't know how often it happens. The details are, I guess, hard to come by. But what we do have shows that it is very rare to almost never. Okay, well, the next thing we got is the House vote. It's going to do that in part 2. I'm going to end part 1 now. And so we'll do that in part 2. I guess I'm going to have to fix my title. This is supposed to have said part 1, and I forgot to do that. So stick around if you're one of those folks watching live on YouTube. And it's going to take me a few minutes to reset things and get ready to play that. And once again, the debate itself is going to be pedantic and kind of boring. And without any notes and without any script and without knowing exactly what I'm going to do right now, I've had some thoughts as I've watched this. We'll see what I can gin up from my poor cat-addled brain. I will do the Mystery Theater 3000 version of the Triangle Talk Show and try to make some comments. I'm not going to be a silhouette there on the bottom of the screen. I'll be like this. I'll be in this little box over here. They'll be in that big box over there. All right. So that is it for part 1 of episode 61, the Veto NOverride. I think that's clever. I made up that word. I think that's clever. We'll see how it. Hashtag that out on Twitter, and see if we can make that trend. Don't forget to put at Talk Triangle along with it, because that's where we are over on Twitter. All right, so let me reset things, and we'll go watch this actual sad exhibit of a debate in the North Carolina House. Meantime, over, but not out.